So it was that kind of retrospective planning. So that was just to allow vehicles on and to let the animals stay.
That's it, because they've allowed planning permission for the walls. They said they can stay.
Right.
However, in the enforcement notice, the inspector never mentioned the lane. He didn't say no, and he didn't say yes.
And you need that, do you, to have the planning permission for the lane, so you can, so the animals can stay, so that vehicles can come
as
on?
you can see when you look at the lane, it's partially grassed over. I asked Mr. Mark Jones if we could possibly leave the lane and partially let it grass over, or whether we could seed it and grass over. And he said, "Oh, I see." Which I took as an indication to be he was considering that action. He did say to me that he was the face of the council, and it wasn't him. He does like my mother, and he has great respect for my mother, and he said this as Mr. Harris, who was Mark Harris, who was the duty officer who I spoke to on Friday and agreed to meet with me at 4 o'clock. When I spoke to him, he left the room to go and get a planning application.
Mr. Jones left the room?
No, Mr. Harris left the room to go and collect the application forms for me to put in a planning permission for my mother to have lifetime occupancy for the caravan. However, when I set he said all of that when Mr. Harris left. When he returned and he spoke to me, you know, Mr. Jones was asking questions, wanted to know why things were happening, what was...
Mr. Jones was asking you questions?
He was asking me, well, what do I, you know, what do I need to know, what do I want, and then when he said he needed me to put an application in for Monday morning, and also he wouldn't be looking favourably on my mother putting a mobile home on my property in the interim to allow her to adjust to the move and give time to move. He would be seeing that as not eligible for planning. However, I said that a caravan, be it static or tourer, attached to my house, used for partial use, is allowed, and I don't seek planning permission. However, Mr. Jones insisted that I put in a section 192 to the council at the cost of £83 to myself. To question whether we could have the caravan.
So that was a planning application, was it?
No, that was for me to have the caravan either remain here or go down to the cottage. I put in a separate application as well at Mr. Jones's request at the cost of £166. As the secretary said on the morning, that's a catch-all fee for any planning application.
Right.
And I submitted that on the morning.
And that was to have a mobile home at your...
No, that was to have this to remain this here. The planning application was for the caravan to remain here for a lifetime occupancy for my mother. And when I spoke to the lady, this was...
And he asked you to put both those in?
He asked me to put both of those in.
This is Mr. Jones?
This is Mr. Mark Jones, the enforcement officer. I believe he is a senior enforcement officer at the council. I have seen him on various occasions when he's either visited my mum's property when I've been here, or attending to the animals or tending to my mother. Or I've seen him when he has been in official capacity of an inquiry when I've gone along to support my mother.
And then that planning application was submitted on Monday morning?
That was submitted 9 o'clock because he said to me there is a meeting at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. He said, however, I have put it back. He said I have put it back to 10 o'clock. He said this will allow you to submit your application and for your covering letter for your points of what you could do and what you hope to do. I did that, I followed his advice, I followed that, and I submitted that Monday morning, 9 o'clock. When I spoke to the receptionist who took my application and I asked for verification, she said it would take between 7 to 10 days. However, my brother found out on the BBC website at 11 o'clock at night that they had already verified the application and it had failed. No reason was given by Mr. Andrew Farrow as to why it had failed. Forgive me, I need to go back and check to see, you know, if there was an outline. However, there was no reason for saying that. They only say that the application had failed.
And this was on the BBC that you
This was the BBC website, because we were looking to see, you know, if there was anything that would.
Do you know whether your solicitor had been informed of that decision?
No, my solicitor had not been informed. My solicitor was only informed when I emailed him that evening, and he opened it the following day. Because
so the media knew before.
The media knew before we did, and you know, I think, you know, an act of courtesy would have been in place to take that. And you know, I think that if we could have mediated, I think that would have been far better.
So can I just confirm with you, you had asked for extra time to comply. You wanted to comply with the order. I
said to Mr. Jones, my very words, and I'm throwing myself on your mercy.